The narrative was this is open for anyone. Anyone can, make money, fuck the VCs, whatever. But it turns out that was all a lie. There maybe weren't VCs taking advantage of people, but there were these middlemen that were taking advantage of people, right? And so I'm just very skeptical whenever I see the herd going in one direction. Thinking about like human dynamics, more and less about like tech is, I would say, underrated if you're investing or trying to make money in crypto.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Empire. We've got Nick Tomaino joining the show again. Nick was, I think, on the show last year. He started One Confirmation. Nick, I also remember you were running one of the good events, Token Confirmation.
Token Summit. Yeah.
Token Summit. I remember back in the day.
Yeah, that was early 2017.
Yeah, good event. I remember. But yeah, anyway, started One Confirmation, one of the best funds in the industry, and is perpetually impresses me by how often he is able to stay grounded and take the other side of things, and not get swept up in the mania of things. And I think has been on the other side. I think we'll talk a lot about like just being on the other side of being very not getting caught up in a lot of the meme stuff that's been happening recently. So anyways, Nick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Good to see you.
Why don't we just start there? So we're recording this February 19th on Wednesday. And over the past weekend, you just saw all this like Malay and Libra and meme coin stuff. And it really feels like to me, this is the tipping point for the industry, realizing that, okay, maybe some of these, like this meme stuff, maybe is not as healthy as we originally thought it was. I'd love to just get your 10,000 foot view on what's happening with like memes and Solana and just the whole debacle that is unfolding before our eyes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say the open ethos of like crypto is both a gift and a curse. And it's like it's a gift. It's the reason that crypto is what it is today, is because like Bitcoin was open source and anyone could understand it, anyone could copy it and spread it, anyone could participate. Like the open ethos is great, but the open ethos also, I would say, enables grifters, scammers, shillers, whatever, however you want to describe that. And we've seen time and time again how that can go wrong in ways that really hurt retail. And that's really what I care about. Like when I started in crypto, I was like 25 years old. I didn't have any money to my name, and I just wanted to make a quick buck. And so I understand that's like the journey that most people in crypto have. And I don't like look down on that at all. But when I call out some of the like the meme coin shit, it's more from the perspective of like someone that's speaking to like my 25-year-old self. Like you want to be long-term greedy rather than short-term greedy. And so when you see these kind of manias, you can kind of feel that it's too much short-term greed. And I think that's kind of what I would describe the pump.fun shit that we've seen on Solana, right? Which was kind of the narrative was this is open for anyone. Anyone can, make money, fuck the VCs, whatever. But it turns out that was all a lie, right? Like these things were, there maybe weren't VCs taking advantage of people, but there were these middlemen that were taking advantage of people, right? And so I'm just very skeptical whenever I see the herd going in one direction. And I think that thinking about like human dynamics more and less about like tech is, I would say, underrated if you're investing or trying to make money in crypto.
All right, so let me try to break this whole meme coin and Solana thing down into, I think there's three buckets that people are kind of conflating and kind of combining these three buckets together. So there's this question of like, is it ethically okay to do what's happening with, is this all ethically okay? Then is this sustainable, right? Like, is this going to come crashing down and this is some big bubble? And then there's the like, what's the impact on Solana? And there's a lot of talk like, is Solana going to overtake Ethereum? It's like, what is the impact on Solana of this? So maybe viewed through those lenses, like ethically, sustainably, and then the impact on Solana. I'd love to hear you break down your thoughts.
Ethically, I mean, are meme coins okay? Of course. Like Bitcoin is the OG meme coin. And like meme coins are not going away at all. Like I'm bullish on meme coins long term. Um, is the way that we're learning that these pumped up fun meme coins kind of got basically played retail to and grifted retail on? Like to me, no, that's like not honorable. And I think there is a lack of honor in crypto right now that is troubling, I would say. Like there's a lot of chasing, and I get the chasing again. It's like people want more money, they want more attention, but in the short term. But I think my interest is like retail, and if we want crypto to win, like this stuff, maybe it's short term good for some people who are chasing it, but it hurts way more people than it helps, and that's bad for the space, I think. And so, I mean, ethically, like the pump fund shit. Again, I don't really care about ethic. I'm not making like an ethical or a moral argument, really. I'm more saying like this stuff is bad for crypto, and I think crypto is good for the world. I want to bring crypto to more people, so that's what I care about.
How do you grapple with this idea that you're long-term bullish meme coins, but short-term you think it's really bad for the industry?
No, specifically the pump fund, this like insider game that we're now learning about, right? Where there's sniping, there's lining up influencers to pump it, there's paying influencers, and then just when you get to a certain level, everyone dumps, right? Like that, that type of just soulless greed, I would call it,
But
is
how do you
not
prevent?
sustainable.
Yeah, how do you prevent against that? If you do, how do you basically maintain an open, permissionless system and keep, uh, while preventing against this? You know.
I'm not saying prevent against it. Like I don't think I'm
Mm.
saying educate people, make people help people level up, right? Like I think, and I used to bet on sports, right? I think betting on sports is really dumb. You're mostly gonna lose, but it is skin in the game. You are risking something, and either winning or losing based on objective truth, right? Um, so the next level, I would say, is something like meme coins, and where maybe it's a little better, more positive sum than sports betting. You have more control of it because you're a part of the community, own the coin, can do something to make it more valuable. But the pump fun, fake fair launch stuff is mostly
Mm.
bad, right? And is most, but people can still learn from that. So the hope is like, even though this, a lot of people lost from it, like there's some that might really win long term if they can, get smarter and level up, and then believe in something more than just chasing a quick buck, right?
Mm.
That is the next level. So it's like sports betting is maybe level one, meme coin chasing is level two, then believing in something more, taking a long-term view and getting like real skin in the game and something you believe. That was my journey, by the way. And that is, I think, a journey that can lead to a lot of good stuff. So that's what I try to evangelize.
Yeah, I'm generally of the belief that this stuff actually ends up self-correcting fairly
Mhm.
quickly. Like, who in their right mind is going to start buying like new meme coin launches right now? These things are
Yep.
like straight down. So I'm generally of the belief that these things self-correct. What do you think of maybe that third pane of glass that I was kind of looking through to talk about this is like ethically, sustainably, and then the last is maybe like the impact on Solana. And
Hmm.
you talk about like leaders and Vitalik and stuff. I'm curious how you think that Solana and the leadership of Solana could have handled this better or differently, or maybe they're handling it just how they should handle it.
Hmm. Um, Look, I'm not a member of Solana, like the Solana community, I would say. It's always felt to me like this kind of Silicon Valley company coin, and this like the culture that really kind of respects existing institutions and kind of chases Silicon Valley prestige. And so I mean, I think, look, there could be, I'm not going to write off Solana. Like there could be some interesting projects that come from Solana, but like FTX and now this, right? We're both, those are the, right now, the legacies of Solana. So let's see, there's new narratives that, the Solana community will shill, like DeepIn or whatever else. And I don't know. From an investment perspective, like I invest in products that I get excited about from a user perspective. And there's not one product that has come out of Solana yet that has been kind of a new product that I've been excited about from a user perspective. So,
Mm.
um, so I hope that Solana levels up and we see some real interesting products that are net new for the space. But that hasn't happened yet. And I think what may be more likely is there will be the Solana community as a culture chases shiny objects. That's like what Solana people do. And there'll probably be another shiny object that they jump to that maybe, Aptos or Sui or whatever shiny L1 comes next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Unichain, the layer 2 designed to be the home for DeFi and cross-chain liquidity. With up to 95% lower fees than Ethereum and launching with 1-second block times, Unichain is the L2 purposely built for DeFi. Powered by Uniswap, Unichain enhances DeFi experiences with faster, cheaper, and seamless transactions, even across chains. Unichain mainnet is live and available for everyone to use, so click the link in the show notes to find out more. Thanks to Unichain for making today's episode possible. So you don't believe in anything outside of Ethereum from a build where people should build things?
Not at all. No. I never. Why would you say that?
I thought you were implying that other L1s like Solana, Sui, Aptos are just shiny.
No, I mean, look, Cosmos, the Cosmos ecosystem. I'm a big believer in app chains long term. Okay, like I think every quality application developer will want the control and the economics of having their own chain. And so the two best ecosystems for that right now, I would say, are Cosmos and Ethereum. Cosmos, that was the vision of Cosmos is kind of is an app chain vision, kind of sovereign chain. Every developer would want self sovereignty, and so we've invested in many projects in that ecosystem, and I would say that's probably quite contrarian right now. But I'm very bullish on like the Cosmos ecosystem and kind of app chains in general. And then Ethereum is also kind of well suited for app chains with kind of L2s and L3s. So I think the reality is like mid developers are going to go to a chain like Solana and where there's users right now and there's interest for the short term. But like long term, as a developer, why would you want to bring that's really, as a developer that's really bringing like something net new to the space and not like zero sum? Why would you want to contribute value to an existing chain that way? Such that, like, when the Trump coin happened, there were no like there were only a few apps on the chain that worked during that time, and it's like there's scalability problems, and there's, more importantly, like control and economic problems if you're an application developer that's on an existing chain. And so I think app chains are just 100% the future.
Got it. Is there anything that would get you to change your mind about Solana, or do you think it's a cultural problem that just won't change?
What would change my mind is if there are interesting products that are net new and to the space and bringing new people in.
Yeah.
And you could say, something like Pump.fun, like I'm not that brought new people in. I don't think it was kind of net new and really positive sum. So that like I would be very excited if we saw some applications that were really something like Polymarket, in 2024, or OpenSea in 2021, 2022, or the MakerDAO, Uniswap, DYDX in kind of the early DeFi days. Like these are applications, or even like Farcast or Warpcast, this year. Like these are applications that I think are kind of net new for the space and bringing new people in. And
Mm,
I don't think we've seen that from Solana yet. But
yeah,
again, I'm not writing it off. I just
totally.
I think it's skewed far too much towards just hype.
Do you know Alliance DAO? Like
Hmm.
Imran and Chow? Yeah. So I just left this Alliance event, and one of the founders there, he said, "Look, I've got everything nailed down. I've got my product. I'm just debating should I build it in Solana or build it on Base." He's
Hmm.
like, "I've figured that out." And actually, the thing that came into my head there was one of your tweets. Um, and I'll read it. It says VCs telling founders what chain to build on is peak loser energy. The startup will only really work if there's founder belief. The role of an early stage VC is to instill belief, not project bag bias. How do you
Hmm.
think about that? Yeah, can you just tell me more about that and how you think about it?
I think founders should build on whatever chain they vibe with, like they believe in and they understand, the culture. I don't. And I think most will ultimately, like the good ones will ultimately, again, like probably build, launch their own app chain. So
Yeah,
um, I don't, as I said, like I don't, I'm always kind of, I care more about the application, right? Like at this point, 2025, the past 15 years in crypto have been about two things: infrastructure and just money, right? Like all the founders and the investors that have done really well, they've been either doing the infrastructure stuff or the money stuff,
right.
right? And I think we're at a point where it's time for applications. We need kind of consumer applications. That's like what we're focused on for the next 10 years is consumer applications kind of at the intersection of culture and crypto.
Mm,
And I think the question of like what chain should I build on is too inward. It's like
it's not the right question. Yeah,
too thinking about like
yeah,
crypto, and so much of crypto, even like, and this, something that's frustrating to me is like there's a whole bunch of venture capital money that is just investing in like the next L1, or just like very inward shit that is not really net new and pushing the space forward, but maybe it's like getting liquidity from one chain to this new chain or something like that, right? So I think the best founders just want to build like useful applications for people and make crypto more useful for people. And um, it doesn't really matter. Like again, even though I'm not that interested in Solana, like if a great founder wanted to build something on Solana, that would be cool with me. I would love to invest in it
yeah.
if it was a product that resonated with me.
How do you grapple with this idea of like, so okay, so I love the mindset. It's like we need the applications. I think everyone listening to this is probably like listen, being like, yeah, Nick, like kind of nodding their head, like I agree with that. However, this is like, I mean, what are we looking at right now? Like I think Monad launched their test net today. It was like Movement launched, Barachain launched, Mega ETH launched, Abstract launched. These things are all launching at like ridiculous, like billions of dollars valuations. Do you
Mhm.
think that the market eventually just self corrects, or like you as a venture capitalist, like you have to provide returns to your LPs? So that is where the returns have been in the industry, or maybe I'm wrong about that.
Look, I mean, I think our returns have been from applications like OpenSea and like Bridge and like Super Rare and
Mm,
DYDX and a bunch of others.
Polymarket. Yeah.
So Polymarket, no returns yet, but
Uh,
no DPI, but on paper.
yeah.
Um, so I think we have among, if not the top performance in the industry, and not doing the for the most part. And again, I'm not also not like religious against big like token rounds if it's something that's net positive for the space. But a lot
Mm,
of these I would say are not. They're more a product of there's too much venture capital in the space, and a lot of the LPs of these big funds that have raised billion-dollar funds, part of the appeal of crypto to these LPs is the quick liquidity. That's something that you don't get in traditional venture, right? So they're kind of investing in these big funds because they want this token liquidity in like a
Yeah.
couple of years, and I it's not. I don't think that's generating massive returns, right? Like it's and most importantly, it's bad for retail, because if you look at in the history, like the past, call it 5 years of this, retail investors buying into this the next L1 at a multi-billion-dollar valuation have on average lost, right?
Mm.
So it's honestly a similar game to the meme coin shit on pump.fun, just for like prestige VCs rather than like the average guy. So
Mm.
um I don't think like I mean, we're in a blessed position because, like, for me, I already had like a lot of success even before I started One Confirmation. Like I am a big believer in Bitcoin. I've never sold any Bitcoin. Like I've been blessed because I've been early and I haven't had to chase anything at all. I haven't had to chase big funds. I haven't had to chase narratives. And so I've been able to be very long term and more principled. And I think my LPs are
Mm.
very happy about that. It's
So
also like a position of privilege. I get that there's a lot of other people out there that maybe don't have that. So it's just it's an approach that's done well for us, and I think it's an approach that can do more well for a lot of others as well. But most importantly, like again, for your listeners, like I think there's a lot of retail people that want to make money from crypto, and I think these big VC chains are net losers, and I don't think jumping in is a winning proposition on average.
today's episode is brought to you by Unichain, the layer 2 designed to be the home for DeFi and cross-chain liquidity. With up to 95% lower fees than Ethereum and launching with 1-second block times, Unichain is the L2 purposely built for DeFi. Powered by Uniswap, Unichain enhances DeFi experiences with faster, cheaper, and seamless transactions, even across chains. Unichain mainnet is live and available for everyone to use. So click the link in the show notes to find out more. Thanks to Unichain for making today's episode possible. Let's actually go there, because if let's say 25-year-old Nick was starting again in the industry and didn't have money, it feels harder than ever, I think, to make money in the industry right now. If you're a retail, you're retail, maybe you don't work in the industry full time or something, but you really want to get in, or maybe you just started working in the industry, you don't have much money, you're like, basically the return dispersion is larger than ever, right? It's been like Bitcoin. So if you didn't own Bitcoin, Solana, Hyperliquid, or some of the memes, you didn't really make money this cycle. So what is your advice to just someone listening, be like, yeah, Nick, actually everything makes sense to me, but like, how do I make money in crypto right now?
I hate the term cycle, like this cycle. Like I think the first thing is
You're
take
not
a
a 4 year, you're not a 4 year cycle believer?
no, this cycle is like something I see a lot of people like the, people say, and it's more of a trading mentality, right? Which
Mm,
I think the first thing you should do is take a long term view on crypto. Like, do you believe that the internet is going to be more important or less important in 10 years? If you believe more, the other question you should ask is, do you think that people are going to trust government more or less in 10 years? I think most 25-year-olds would say more and less to those questions, right? And so if you believe that, buy some Bitcoin, buy some ETH, and maybe, maybe buy a little bit of a few others if you want to take a little more risk, right? I think get your exposure that way. Don't come in with a trading mentality, and then start using products, right? Like I think just
mm,
being a user of products is vastly underrated, and so believe in something, get some skin in the game in like a long-term basket, and then start using products and being curious. And like, I think a problem that a lot of people, including, myself at 25, had is like, you just listen to narratives. A narrative sounds good, and so then you chase the narrative. And there's so many narratives in crypto that sound good, but how can you basically separate a bullshit narrative that just sounds good from something real? I think that's like a question that's important to ask. And to me, the answer is there a product that you believe in? If you're an
Mm,
actual user of the product, and the product is useful to you, then I think that's something to get more exposure and maybe double down on, maybe go all in on. But like, you got to get out of a mindset of just chasing narratives and have, a long-term mindset, use products and be curious. Those are the
yeah.
the three things.
Yeah. All right. Let's pivot to actually two, we can call them narratives or products or use cases or whatever that I wanted to talk about. One is kind of this intersection of actually memes, NFTs, creativity, media. It's something I think a lot just as someone who runs a media company. But actually, before we do that, there's another one. I saw you tweet. Polymarket was the first stablecoin native consumer app to break out. My bet is we'll see many more soon. So why don't we talk about just like consumer apps and stablecoins and this kind
Yeah.
of maybe take us into that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think stablecoins are one of the biggest things happening this year. Again, for new people, understand what's going on in stablecoins. There's probably going to be a lot of interesting new opportunities in stablecoins. I think at a high level, my stablecoins have always been an interesting area. Starting with MakerDAO, that was one of our first investments as a fund, and MakerDAO and DAI is kind of this decentralized, collateralized, on-chain stablecoin, and the what's happening now in 2025 with stablecoins is quite interesting because the Trump administration has made it a priority to get clear legislation with stablecoins. And I actually think the maybe not just the Trump administration, maybe even the ruling class broadly, because before FTX collapsed, they were actually behind the scenes working on a stablecoin, and they were also working closely on stablecoin legislation. So it's possible that both sides see stablecoins as really important to the future of the U.S. economy. The macro backdrop, and I encourage people. I'm sure a lot of your listeners know Balaji, who's a close friend, has written a lot of good stuff about this. And I talk to him all the time about this stuff. He's kind of probably my smartest friend on kind of global macro stuff. And the backdrop for the U.S. right now is China and Japan are the two largest holders of U.S. Treasuries. Um, Selling U.S. Treasuries is how the government pays off its debt and funds operations, right? And both China and Japan are dumping treasuries and not buying treasuries anymore. And there's a bunch of BRICS countries as well that are getting away from the dollar. And so, you have countries around the world, the governments are getting away from the dollar, getting away from U.S. treasuries. Stablecoins are a way for the U.S. government to distribute the dollar to net new users around the world without the government of those countries even being involved. And that's really what's happening with stablecoin growth right now, right? The total market cap of stablecoin is about 225 billion. It's still quite small. If you both look at kind of the total, the global macro landscape, as well as even within crypto market caps. But it's growing. It's at an all-time high right now, and it's growing. And I think the interesting thing about that is the U.S. dollar is about 99.9% of stablecoins right now. Of course,
Right.
stablecoins can be more than U.S. dollar. So one interesting area is like, might there be a stablecoin that pegs to a basket of goods, for example, rather than just the U.S. dollar or other,
Yeah, like a CPI
U.S.
stable or
currency.
something like that. Yeah.
And those ideas have been around for a while. Nothing is really stuck there yet. But like, if I
Yeah.
was if I was a country that wanted to compete with the U.S., that would be on my radar, right? But I think
Mm.
stablecoins generally for the U.S. they distribute dollars to new people around the world, and they create net new buyers of treasuries, right? Tether, I'm sure you saw the headlines about Tether in January. Is like they did, I think it was 14 billion in net profit in 2024, and they're one of the top 20 largest buyers of U.S. treasuries now. Tether is, and I think the U.S. government knows all this. They want to put legislation in place so that we start seeing even more stable coins. Like I think we'll probably see some large U.S. banks launch their own dollar-denominated stable coins. I wouldn't be
Mm.
surprised if X has a stable coin.
I
Right?
agree with that. Actually,
USDT.
that was one of my big predictions for this year is that you'll see fintechs and tech companies and
Yep.
banks issue their own stablecoins. And I think
Yeah.
actually Twitter or X now, like USD, they should have XUS or USDX.
USDX. Yeah.
USDX is a great
Yep.
ticker. It's a great
Yeah,
investment.
no, and I think that there's a business model there. I think we were very early involved in Bridge,
Mm,
which was acquired by Stripe last month, and they Bridge does two things, and this is something that Zach has been the founder of Bridge has been evangelizing for a while now. One of the core products is just provide kind of the infrastructure for like businesses to use stablecoins underneath the hood to move money faster and cheaper, right? So like SpaceX, their Starlink product that they sell to Nigeria consumers. They take Nigerian currency, and then Bridge on the back end for them will sell that Nigerian currency for like USDT, and then move USDT to USD. And so the company wants dollars, not Nigerian currency, right? So that's like the core kind of infrastructure product. But their other product is kind of providing the infrastructure for anyone to launch their own stablecoin, and and that's not as that product doesn't have as much traction yet, but
mhm.
I think it will. They're
I think it
really
will.
well
Yeah.
positioned this year. So yeah, so back to that long-winded way of the initial tweet is like Polymarket. A lot of people say, "Oh, prediction markets have been around for a while." Like, why did it need crypto? Well, I think it needed crypto because especially for for political markets, because until this past year, political markets were illegal in the U.S. and there was before stablecoins on on Ethereum, there was no um, easy way for like a product to get liquidity from the rest of the world. And the reason why Polymarket had over 2 billion in volume last year is because they used
Mm,
USDC on Polygon. So
mm.
that was really the first. And there's a lot of net new users of crypto that came in through Polymarket, right? So it was one of the first products that like didn't require first like speculation on Bitcoin or
Yeah.
ETH, Solana or whatever. And so I think we're going to see more of those.
Do you have a sense of what some of these consumer apps could be? Are they
Uh,
consumer apps? Are they B2B like SaaS platforms built on stable coins? Like any idea of like I don't know, just sense of what you're excited about there?
I think. Well, I'm mostly excited about consumer more so than B2B.
Yeah.
I would say, and like the reason I'm an investor is like I don't have a concrete vision of like what should exist, but I do have a pretty good sense of like the areas and the founders that are that can build them, right? So I'm very much interested in like bleeding edge crypto products, like decentralized social, for example, is I think an area that's very ripe for something to really break out. And I think kind of the combination of like social feeds that allow you to do stuff on chain, um, that's something I'm really excited about. So I think like NFTs, for example, like I think NFTs will come back. I think what's likely to bring them back is not the last generation of like where it was all about making. It was 99% about making money, like 1% about supporting the creator. When you have like in feed, easy to use, NFT mints, then it becomes like maybe 80% about supporting the creator, still 20% about money. So, and I think like, stable coins are really good for that type of thing, right? Where if you could, if it was easy to just get a stable coin in a crypto wallet, and then you can mint, a NFT from a creator you like for $1, that type of thing, I think is quite interesting.
Hey everyone. Earlier in today's episode, I mentioned Petra, a top non-custodial wallet developed by Aptos Labs. They just launched Earn, a new feature to access DeFi with just one click. Earn lets non-US users deposit USDT directly into Aries markets lending pools to gain interest and rewards, and manage it all directly from the Petra wallet. Petra Earn was designed to make DeFi more accessible for everyone. You can manage your balance, claim rewards, and deposit directly from the app. This is, of course, not financial advice. Participating in DeFi carries risks. To learn more, visit petra.app/earn or by hitting the link in the description of today's episode. Hey everyone, Jason here. Earlier in today's episode, you heard me mention the weekly CIO memo from Bitwise. In an industry as hectic, fast, and complex as ours, it's incredibly hard to get an easy, no-nonsense stream of what's actually moving crypto. The memo comes from Matt Hogan, Bitwise's Chief Investment Officer. He's been on the show before, and he has this amazing ability to take the most complex topics and break them down with clarity. Trust me on this one, the Bitwise Weekly CIO memo is really worth the 5 minutes of your time. Check it out at bitwiseinvestments.com/CIO memo/empire, or just hit the link in the description of today's episode to get started. Carefully consider the extreme risks associated with crypto before investing. AO, the hyperparallel computer is here, a decentralized supercomputer built on top of Arweave's permanent data storage. AO offers infinite parallel processing and leverages web infrastructure HTTP for unprecedented scalability, addressing limitations of existing blockchains. AO smart contracts support large programs, including LLMs, and can execute autonomously, enabling new classes of decentralized applications. Utilizing TEs for secure computations and features a 100% fair token distribution to Arweave holders and bridge depositors, emphasizing community ownership. Thanks to Arweave for making today's episode possible. You can find out more by clicking the link in the show notes. Do you care if someone's going to have a token when you make an investment?
No, I mean, like, that was something when I started in 2017. I launched One Confirmation. It was one of the first crypto venture funds. Might have been the first. And at the time, ICOs were going crazy.
Yeah.
One investor asked me, so what ICOs have you invested in? And ICOs were going crazy. It looked like everyone was making money from ICOs, right? And I said, not one. My focus is on founders that are focused on doing something meaningful long term, and not just going for like a quick cash grab. And that investor didn't invest. Like he thought it was like a bad sign that so many people were making money from ICOs and I wasn't. But that's like always the strategy that I've had from the very beginning, is like, back good founders that are building products that are net positive, pushing the space forward. And I do think tokens make a lot of sense, for many products. So I like tokens, but it's not required. And what I try to do is just be aligned with founders long term. Like the there's like token warrant agreements. There's all these like deal structures that have become
Right.
like common in the crypto, which I don't like them. Like and sometimes I'll do them if it's like what the founder wants to do, but it's like just be aligned with the founder and believe in the founder, and you don't need to restrict the founder to. It's like I very much feel like if you're trying to put like control on someone, that whether it's an employee, whether it's a founder, whether it's a child, um, like they're not going to do their best,
Mm,
and so you kind of want to just support, be positive, and let them be free, and so
yeah.
that's kind of how I structure my deals, and I really don't like the token warrant stuff that often comes with
Yeah.
it.
Nick, how do you? So I've now done 50 somewhere between 50 and 60 angel deals, and what
Yeah,
I thought would lead to success with these deals is completely different than what it actually has been. So what I
mhm,
thought when I started doing these angel investments was like you got to find like this sick product and like a designer who really like knows how to do growth on social and an amazing product builder. And what it really just has come down to is like are they willing to stick with the thing for several years?
yeah,
And most of the things that have worked where I've like made most of the things most by the way most of the things have failed, and the reason they failed is because the founders just given up or quit. And the
yep,
things that have worked, oftentimes the thing looks completely different than when I first met the founder. They've just stuck with it. They've done
yep.
layoffs, they've hired, they've done layoffs, they've hired, they've seen many cycles, and they just have a very long-term view. How do you suss that out as a in like your interviews or your the fundraising process?
Yep. Great question. And yeah, that's certainly true. I would say that our kind of one of our requirements, I would say, from founders is like showing a deep historical knowledge on
Mm,
whatever the area that they're building is, and um, there's got to be context. There's got to be some understanding. So if they're building in prediction markets, by the way, like Shane is a good example of this from Polymarkets. Like Shane knew everything about Augur. He had a view on like what was good about Augur, what was bad about Augur, what was good about Veil, what was bad about Veil, what was good about InTrade, what was bad about InTrade, and that type of like care and understanding of what's come before is kind of, well, I would say, the main thing that I look for, because there's a lot, and that's not to say, by the way, that that's the only way you can make money from from investing in that type of founder. I think there's lots of ways to do it, um, but I do think you need to have some strategy that's something beyond just chasing, just making money, right? And that is a good way to filter founders that I think are more opportunistic, right? It's like kind of the classic mercenary versus missionary. Like we tend to prefer the missionary who has some care for what they're building beyond just like a good opportunity. um,
mm,
so that's kind of, some of it's vibe, some of it's gut feel, um, but specifically, like I always want to dive deep on whatever the area that they're building, like what's their knowledge of what's been attempted before, because
mm,
that's a great thing about crypto too. Is like there's everything's open source. There's a lot of different experiments that are kind of publicly running. There's a lot to learn kind of at all times. So, um, and there's a lot to learn from, good things and bad things. I mean, for example, Pumped Up Fun, you know, there's probably an opportunity for someone to do a version of Pumped Up Fun that is somehow more pump and dump resistant, right? What exactly that is, I'm not sure, but like that might be a, and if as a founder building that, I would want there some insight that's not just surface level, right? On what happened at Pump, what was good, what was
yeah.
bad, and you'd be surprised. Like especially in Silicon Valley, there's a lot of founders that just are chasing narratives, and don't care that much and don't kind of do the real work to understand like the historical context.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. By the way, it's like the two things that, or maybe I kind of look for three things. It's like, what's the co-founder relationship? because that has also killed a lot of companies that I've invested in. And then the other's like, will you stick with it for several years? And then the third is like, can you give me like an oh wow insight? Can I walk away from that conversation and be like, wow, this person knows everything about this topic and has actually made me think differently about this?
Yeah. But
Yeah,
more than anything, like I think, and it's probably a combination of the things you mentioned. I think it's like care. They've got to care. Like I think I look back from what when I started, when I joined Coinbase in 2013 to now. There's been so many people that I've seen come and go, and I think the reason I'm still here more than anything is not because I'm smart or whatever. It's because I care. Like I genuinely care, and it's hard to fake that.
you care about what? You care about like decentralization or like bringing like holding truth to the institutions, or you care about Ethereum, or you care about Bitcoin, or what do you care about?
I care about crypto as a tool to empower people around the world
Hmm.
and lift people up. Basically, like I think crypto at its core is human empowerment technology, and I care about bringing that to more people.
Yeah. Do you think Coinbase is a good steward of that mission?
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think happens with
What do you think?
Coinbase?
What do you think?
I think Coinbase is a phenomenal steward of that. Um, I think Coinbase is one of the best companies in the industry. I really like what Jesse is doing with Base. I think that they're like not the saving grace of Ethereum. I'm a little more bearish and pessimistic on Ethereum, or have been in the past. But I think the reason that Ethereum will ultimately work out is not because of Base and Jesse, but like I mean, man, they're doing some good work to move Ethereum forward, I would say.
But by the way, I'm by no means like I think Ethereum. I've been very very bullish on Ethereum, like in my posts and stuff, because I am I love Ethereum. I think Ethereum, for crypto to win, Ethereum needs to be strong. But I'm no means a like Ethereum by no means an Ethereum maximalist, and I also think Ethereum. And this is kind of something I think about with founders. It's like there's two things that are important: creativity and competition and competitiveness. Okay, and I think like Ethereum, a critique of Ethereum would be lack of competitiveness. I think Ethereum, and we've invested in some founders that were maybe more on the creative side, and a reason it didn't work is because of lack of competitiveness. So I think Ethereum needs to be more competitive. There needs to be more kind of competitive will to win. I think there is and I think there is and will be, but that is like I would say a critique that I have on Ethereum. And I think there are other ecosystems that are like hyper competitive, and Solana would be a good example, right? Like I think there's like hyper competitive, but really lacks creativity. I mean, what's something creative that's come out of Solana?
How would you fix Ethereum? How would you make them more competitive? You tell Vitalik to get on Twitter and start how do you make them more competitive?
Well, I don't think we necessarily. No, I mean and it doesn't. It also doesn't need to come from necessarily Vitalik. Like, I think, and I have this conversation with some like big Wall Street investors who like they're worried about Ethereum because there's other projects that have these big public figures that are now like going to Washington D.C. and meeting with everyone, and they're company coins, right? But a lot of investors are used to investing in companies, and so they see that what looks like these company CEOs that are leading a certain way, and they are concerned because Ethereum doesn't have that. I don't think Ethereum needs that. I think why Ethereum wins long term is because of social scalability. And Nick Szabo wrote an awesome essay on this in I think 2017. Have you read it?
I vaguely remember was it about Facebook and why I think it was Bitcoin will scale
It mentions Facebook, but I mean, the basic idea with social scalability, it's like in an institution's
Decentralized things can scale more than centralized things long
yeah,
term or
it's an
something like that?
institution's ability to um, have people have skin in the game, basically, and benefit from the success of the institution.
Mm,
Um, and like Bit and yes, he uses Bitcoin as an example. It's more socially scalable than like any institution that's come before it, whether it's any government or payment networks, because there's no person, group, or even country behind it, right? So it's like, if you think about it, Bitcoin was like the first technology that people in China used, just like people in Russia used, just like people in the US and every country around the world. And decentralization is a big part of social scalability,
yeah.
right? And so if if you're perceived as like a US company coin, is that socially scalable to the globe? What do you think?
If you
Like
no,
like so
no, 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 you're not. No.
yeah. So I think Ethereum, like people in the US are worried that like, oh, Ethereum's not going to be in the strategic reserve or something because they're not in no one's in DC lobbying. And I think I think Ethereum will be, if there's a strategic reserve, ETH will be in it, because other than Bitcoin, it's the only truly decentralized currency that both is censorship resistant
Mm,
and decentralized from an ownership perspective, and actually not having like a figurehead that's dictating or loudly competing is actually a positive for that.
mm.
So I think that was a long-winded way of addressing maybe your initial question was like,
No,
how do we get Ethereum more competitive? I think it will happen naturally. And I think, talking about it and maybe pushing the competitive side more could help.
yeah. Let's. Do you know Nick Sabo? Did you ever meet
Yeah.
Nick?
Yeah. I met him only once. I don't know him well, but he was actually raising money for he was going to build a like decentralized stock exchange product on Ethereum actually.
Like a like
Investing.
Uniswap or something?
Well, he was more focused on real world assets, so like stocks.
Yeah. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. You let's talk about NFTs and like memes and media and stuff like that. So I've heard you talk a few times about. I think it's kind of the intersection of. I think you guys did the DGen investment, and I've heard you
Hmm.
talk about like the intersection of memes and media.
Hmm.
Um, then I saw you guys just acquired the Meebits IP with
Yep.
Surge.
Yeah.
I think you guys own the largest institutional NFT vehicle today.
Hmm.
Um, I just love to get your view on like there's this like interesting thing happening at the intersection. It's like NFTs coming back and memes and like new age media and on-chain creativity. And it's like I don't really know how to grapple with it or make sense of it, but I'm curious if you have a strong thesis around this right now.
I think my my love for NFTs is because I think like NFTs bring more creativity to the world. It's like NFTs fundamentally are a business model for creators, right? That didn't exist before, and um, and so I think I that's what NFTs are about, and a lot of people I've seen compare like the meme coin stuff that's happening on Pump to NFTs, which to me is um, there's similarities, right? Because with NFTs, because of the open ethos, there was a lot of garbage too, but there was also a lot of creativity, right? Like NFTs produced, CryptoPunks and Beeple and Art Blocks and Xcopy and Daniel Allen and like a lot, much, much more. Those are just some of the bigger ones. There's like, this is like, these are real creative people that are like here to stay and probably only going to get bigger.
Mm,
So that's that's what I love about NFTs, and I think like I think as the UX, going back to like social feeds and UX, I think it's like the V1 of NFTs um, was still mostly speculation, and like there was a lot of good creativity there as well. But like I think as UX improves, we'll get back to supporting creativity, and um, and I think my belief in NFTs as an asset class, like why we have a vehicle, is that the thesis is very simple. Like just like traditional rich people collect traditional art and believe in traditional art as a store of value, so will crypto rich people with crypto art. And so I think, like
What do you
I
think? What do you think
most
they buy?
the things that I named, right? CryptoPunks,
Punks and
Autoclips,
yeah,
Beeple, Xcopy, many more. Those are some of the top ones. Super rare one of ones. OG super rare one of ones. Like true art, right?
Hmm.
Where the creator of um, AI generated nude portrait number one. Do you know that piece?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was the Genesis mint on Super Rare by Robbie Barat. And this is a guy who, is a young kid at the time that created this artwork, and he, like, is the opposite of like a chaser chasing money, right? Like when money came in NFTs, like he left. He was like, "Fuck this! I don't, I'm not interested in the chasing." Like those are the creatives that that I like, and I think that lead to great work that kind of persists over time. Um, so yeah, that's kind of most crypto rich people I know still don't have any exposure to crypto art,
Hmm.
and I think it's just inevitable that as crypto grows, some of that goes into kind of high end
Yeah.
crypto art, and that's just like my core thesis on NFTs today. But then there's also a whole lot of other kind of new use cases
Yeah,
that
that's
NFTs
the
come up in.
NFTs from the collectibles lens, right? I've also heard you. I think it was your tweet. You said the biggest global media brand will come
Yes,
from NFTs,
yes,
and that piqued my interest as someone who runs a media business. Some would, yeah, just love to hear your thoughts here.
yeah. I think my by media, I meant like I think there's different types of media brands, but if you look
Right,
at
right.
like you know Hello Kitty and Sonic the Hedgehog and Super Mario Brothers, these are very high grossing like annual revenue kind of corporate media brands, and I think that like the idea with MeBits, for example, is that there's really great IP there. Can we take that IP and build, an awesome game with the IP,
Mm.
or a TV show, or toys, things like this, right? So I think being community owned and having great IP is like the start, and then if you can combine that with like content or real world collectibles that make these things more interesting and useful to people. I think that's how you grow.
I know you talk about skin in the game. Can you tell me about just durability of the game? You've been around since 2013, been investing full time since 2017. I've
Hmm.
noticed you don't participate in some of the like inner circle games, I would say. Or
Hmm.
maybe it's I'm trying to think of the right word to put on this, but like, you don't you I feel like you skip a lot of the conferences.
Yeah.
You're not on you don't do the podcast circuit as much. Like, is that related to just durability? Is that just like you don't get the value from it? Like, tell me about just durability and this other aspect of like not really being in that circle.
Okay. I think something that many conflate is being like an influencer, a content creator, a media person, and being an investor. I think they're two very different things, and that often have very different skill sets. So I'm focused on being like a good investor, and that requires an ability to like think differently than the herd. So like I moved out of San Francisco because we had an office in San Francisco, and we were kind of doing the traditional like Silicon Valley VC game where every founder would come pitch us, and we were competing for deals and stuff, and that that wasn't the most productive, I would say. I've actually found this is surprising to me, but like for where we invest at seed stage, right? We write like $1 to $4 million checks in like pre-product or very early product projects. Um, there's actually a negative correlation between how hot a deal is at that stage and the outcome. So like the hottest, most competitive deals were actually like the worst performers, and our best performers were actually not that competitive um, at all. And so I think, to do well as an investor, you really need to get out of kind of the herd mentality, and that's like kind of what works best for me and for our fund. So so that, and that's different than if you're if you're a content creator, then you want to get as much attention as possible, and really to do that you need to be kind of part of the discussion all the time, chasing the current thing and things like that to some extent, right? And so yeah, that's just, I like investing. I like I am by nature, I'm like a contrarian, and I think being outside of kind of the bubbles, whether it's Silicon Valley or whether it's kind of crypto insider bubble or whatever. Like I still like talking to people, but I don't. It's not like a super important part of like what I do. What I do, what's most important is like that I'm a good partner for founders that we work with, and that I'm also using products and staying at the bleeding edge of what's happening with new products. So
Why did you leave the San Francisco Bay Area?
well, kind of partly related to playing like the Silicon Valley game. There's very much like a bubble where you get, if you're around people playing that game, they can pull you in more. And I think we live in kind of a remote area now where it's easier to just kind of be a contrarian. I think that was part of it.
The woods will and the forest will help you with that.
Yeah, and also just I've got a bunch of kids, and I think the city is not great for kids. So those were the main reasons.
Nice. Nick, man, always enjoyed chatting with you. I
Yeah.
appreciate the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.